I'm here today at the Open Garden Squares weekend in London to find out a little bit more about how people are using vacant urban space and land to grow fruit and vegetables right in the heart of the city. One of Capital Grove's most adventurous food growing developments is the Skip Garden, a mobile allotment hidden away behind King's Cross Central Station on a temporary building site. Created by sustainability education charity Global Generation, the rows of beautifully decorated construction beds are now flourishing with mountains of the most colourful fruit and veg, a fantastic example of organic urban horticulture in the smallest of spaces.
The developer gave us 6 skips, which means that I was able to separate out the functions of the garden to use it as a training garden for people, and especially kids. It also means that when this site is ready to be developed, we can pick these skips up and move them to another site. My job is to show people that you can grow in hard places.
And it doesn't stop there. At Farm Shop in Dalston in East London, 3 young food enthusiasts are using some of the latest food growing technologies to test just how much can be grown in a condensed urban space. The old building has quite literally been transformed into the world's first farm in a shop, with a hydroponic fruiting room, fish farm, polytunnel, vertical allotments growing up the walls, chickens on the roof, and a self-sustainable cafe.
We wanted to explore the limits of growing food in an urban environment. We're all interested in if we can bring food closer to home, get more people interacting with it. If you live in a rural area, you're used to food growing, it's part of your daily existence. I think in the city, you're that bit further away. We are currently growing through a number of different techniques. We've got aquaponics, which is combining fish farming and food growing, hydroponics, which is of course a way that much of our lettuce is now grown in the UK. So we've got lots of different experiments going on to find out how we can grow food.
The good life. It seems everyone wants a piece, but with waiting lists for allotments sky high, what's being done on a local level to allow more people to grow their own? Many councils are now forcing plot holders to give up some of their land, divide existing allotments and vacate poorly maintained plots to increase the amount of land available.
When we get a vacant plot, we do split it down the middle and reduce our waiting list by 2 rather than 1. What I'd like to see is more statutory allotment sites. You don't want temporary growing areas. You could be chucked off it in 12 months' time, whereas a statutory allotment, you're protected by law.
But Poole Leisure Services councillor Judy Butt says there's in fact no statutory duty for councils to provide allotments.
It isn't a duty. It's an enhancement. There's no statute which says we must. If there is a family who owns more than 1 plot, then they are going to be reduced to just owning 1 plot. And that may a few difficulties to deal with around that, but everybody's going to be treated within the same way.
But a little farm in Godalming in Surrey could provide the answer. A lot more provides growing space for people with busy lifestyles and limited time to look after a plot.
We can do some weeding, watering if you want to go away, so you don't get that awful feeling that you're kind of trapped and you can never go on holiday. And we've got a lot of older ladies who like the idea that we've got a toilet and they can have a nice cup of tea.
It may not look it now, but in a few months Bournemouth's beaches will be booming with tourists. But with so many pleasure boats and jet skis out on the waves, there's rising concern for the protection of surfers and swimmers. In a bid to safeguard the public, Bournemouth Council has agreed to ban boats from travelling above 8 knots within 200 metres of the Bournemouth shoreline. However, kite surfer Chris Scone-Roberts questions whether a difference of just 2 knots will make any difference in upholding public safety.
To control a boat from doing 6 knots to 5 knots on a throttle is about a millimetre of difference. You've got wind effect, you've got tide effects, you've got swell. There's no way to adhere to a 1 knot difference. It's crazy.
By the summer, this beach will be packed with surfers and swimmers, but with so many boats around, it could be a recipe for disaster. What better way to celebrate Christmas than by building an ice rink on your front lawn? 37-year-old Greg Howe has installed an 82-foot-long skating rink for his 3 children at his home on Carberry Avenue in Southbourne. Family, friends and the public got their skates on and braved the cold for 1 weekend to raise money for RNLI. With the help of local businesses, Greg turned 5,500 gallons of water into 25 tonnes of ice.
Brilliant response, it's been constantly busy here. Everybody's really impressed and I haven't had one single person say, "Oh, get rid of it."
If there was ever anything to get you in the festive spirit, this is it. And people have come from all over the community to see it. Not just the ice rink, but the 25-foot upside-down tree which is sticking up from the top of that roof. Greg has earned a reputation for his famously large Christmas trees. This year, the tree can be seen growing through the house, with the plant pot poking from a hole in the roof. As the last post echoes through the grounds, the heavens open. Councillors, war veterans, youth organisations and the public bow their heads in silence in remembrance of the war dead. A rare moment when a nation can stand together and reflect on the price of freedom. This year, a new memorial plaque has been dedicated in Bournemouth in memory of the 12,000 soldiers who have died since the Second World War. 19-year-old Jonathan Allett from the town is one of the 344 British servicemen who have now died fighting in Afghanistan.
There are loads of people, loads of our soldiers, from this area as well as from all over this country being killed in Afghanistan at the moment. That's part of what we remember on Remembrance Sunday.
Perhaps you could explain a bit more about the kind of work you possibly did during your time at Sky News, the BBC, Channel 4 and Bloomberg.
The thing about news is that you have no idea when the big story is going to break. When a story happens, you can pretty much tell what its life is going to be. You can work out the angles before they're covered. And but when you get a story as big as Michael Jackson suddenly coming out at you, nobody expects it. In my earpiece, I could hear what was going on in the gallery. So you had people giving different instructions, coming in left, right, and centre, but they were still in control. In the hands of a less experienced team of gallery directors, programme producers, they couldn't have done it. But they've been doing this job for many years. So when big stories break, they know exactly what to do. You automatically go into 15th gear.
I think it's a huge privilege to be even involved in rescue or rehabilitation or aiding these creatures in any way, shape or form, to do them justice, to do what's right for them, and to do it with love. And secondly, I think that education of people, that it's good for them to see what's happening, what the reality is, and maybe moves them to actually doing something, whether it's donating or doing voluntary work or anything. Education, I think, is the only way that anything will ever change.
Yes, hopefully for us, we're going to be flying in the helicopter. We're looking to about 10:30 and hopefully they'll be stationed here most of the day. Obviously if they get a job they will need to go, but that sort of adds to the thrill of it as well. But you'll be able to see the helicopter, meet the crew, sit on the aircraft if you want and see what the equipment we carry, and it's very exciting.
So it's a good opportunity for people to find out a little bit more about what the Surrey Air Ambulance actually does.
I think one of the biggest issues we have is that getting across that we are a charity and it costs 1.7 million to keep the aircraft flying. So we carry a doctor and a paramedic on board. They can anaesthetise, they can intubate, they can do open heart surgery if that's what's required, and that incident can be at the roadside, in the home or in the middle of a field upside down. So they are quite incredible people.
Perhaps you could just tell us a little bit about why you're here today, what you're hoping to achieve.
I'm here because I'm proud of what the ambulance service do for the community of Surrey Heath and generally throughout Surrey. And I'm here with some fantastic volunteers who are volunteering their time to show firstly how to do basic life support, so in a sudden cardiac arrest, how you can prevent somebody actually dying. And I'm also here to promote the work the ambulance service did by showing you one of our brand new, what we call a DMA, double manned ambulance, which is what is traditionally expected when you dial 999.